you watching closely?
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So where are you? You're in some motel room? You just wake up and you're in a motel room. There's the key.
Took quite a fall, didn't we, Master Bruce?
And why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.
One of the most recognizable names out there in the world of filmmaking is Christopher Nolan. He is a filmmaker that has blended thought-provoking themes and high-octane thrills into a blockbuster concoction like no other. From the Hans Zimmer score, the non-linear timeline, and the love for IMAX, he has become a key figurehead in Hollywood. And like any director, his body of work is an interesting one. Some surefire hits and absolute classics, while others have been more divisive and has led to the attention of Nolan's detractors. But one thing's for sure, mainstream cinema wouldn't be what it is today without him. In anticipation of Oppenheimer, let us go back to the past and see Christopher Nolan's entire filmography. Tenet was Nolan's attempt at drawing audiences back to cinemas after the COVID-19 pandemic. It is also the director's love letter to the spy genre, wearing its James Bond inspiration on its sleeve. The problem with the film, however, is that it's too complicated and pretentious for its own good. While the action sequences are solid and the reversing effect makes for a cool visual, the concept of inverted entropy is just not as accessible as Nolan intended. While Inception succeeded in making its ideas understandable to the layman, Tenet fails hard. It doesn't help that the movie is plagued with problems like a poor sound mix, resulting in very loud action scenes and really quiet dialogue sequences. Tenet is 2 hours and 30 minutes that you won't be able to reverse. The recipe for success seemed clear for Insomnia. Christopher Nolan exploded from the indie scene with Memento. Al Pacino's career was still going strong. And the late Robin Williams received praise for his dark turn in 1 Hour Photo. So why is that the film has been forgotten over time? The problem with the film is it feels nothing more like Nolan doing studio work. Insomnia also happens to be a remake and feels like the director's least personal work. It's not that the setting is uninteresting or that the performances are off, because it's quite the opposite. But Insomnia's biggest problem is Nolan trying to struggle with the studio system. You can tell he's trying to inject his vision into the project, but doesn't quite get there. And in doing so, Insomnia feels like his most inconsequential movie. Much like Insomnia, The Dark Knight Rises is a victim of massive hype and the expectation that comes along with it. Its predecessor, The Dark Knight, took the comic book genre by storm, and so the finale was expected to be as good, if not better, than its predecessor. But the film is riddled with plot holes and a very slow first act where Bruce Wayne takes his time to return as Batman. In fact, the movie doesn't have a lot of screen time for the character. Bane is a formidable foe until he becomes a henchman. Character reveals can be seen from a mile away, and even the ending has been very divisive. Could The Dark Knight Rises have lived up to the hype? Possibly not. But standing on its own 2 feet, it is one of Nolan's sloppier entries with plot holes and less polished storytelling elements. Following was Christopher Nolan's first feature film, and despite its crude budget, you can feel the potential that this young director had. Most of the elements of a Nolan film are here, from the sharply dressed protagonist, the heist aspect, a femme fatale, a rhythmic score, and more. The movie focuses on a young man who soon becomes entangled with the criminal underworld. It is a modern take on film noir, and you can see that Nolan has the eye and talent despite the project feeling small time. It is also as stylish as it is character driven, focusing on the protagonist as well as the people around him. It cannot be understated how important following is, and without it, Christopher Nolan wouldn't be the filmmaker he is today. Die-hard fans will surely benefit from this viewing experience and see a young director steps into becoming one of the best there is.
A self-fulfilling prophecy of endless possibility, in rolling rings across the screen, in algebra, the fences that you can't climb.
The Prestige is another Nolan film based on a pre-existing source material, but unlike Insomnia, the movie feels interjected with the director's personal touches. Focusing on two rival magicians, it is Nolan's personal beliefs on filmmaking. Angier is rich and wealthy, and getting other people to innovate for his tricks and relying on technology just like modern filmmakers at the time. Borden, on the other hand, has great determination and relies on the practical for his tricks, a clear metaphor on Nolan's approach of movie making. But symbolisms aside, The Prestige also has great twists and performances with Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale carrying the movie on their shoulders. Though sandwiched between his two Batman movies, the film is an underrated gem among Nolan's filmography. Batman Begins may be overshadowed by its more popular sequel, but think back in the early 2000s and see where the franchise was. Batman and Robin nearly killed the superhero genre, and Marvel was starting to rise with the X-Men and Spider-Man films. For DC, the company was MIA, that is until the release of this film. The movie would be the start of the modern gritty reboot, grounded origin story, a back to basics approach. Batman Begins would set the mold for films like Casino Royale and other franchises that had become too big for its own good. But aside from that, the film is a great retelling of Batman's origin story as we see the elements that form him into the superhero we know and love. A big positive here is that while Nolan grounds the story, he never shies away from the source material, bringing Easter eggs and elements that Batman fans know and love. Christopher Nolan has a habit of making the films he loves and putting his own spin on it. For example, Inception and Tenet had clear James Bond influences, and for 2014's Interstellar, it was clear he was making his own 2001 A Space Odyssey. For starters, the movie is an audio-visual masterpiece. The feeling of going to space has never felt so exhilarating and realistic. Nolan has taken great care at making the worlds look real and space travel feel feasible. This is supplemented by Hans Zimmer's score, which takes a new direction with the emphasis on organs, not seen in his other works with Nolan. But the problem with the film is that Nolan's attempt at sentimentality can feel artificial and unearned. The movie set itself up as a hard science story only for it to dial back on the power of love. Its third act therefore suffers the most for this, with Nolan's attempt at tugging the heartstrings and at times can feel too shallow or manipulative. A more emotional director like Spielberg could have pulled this off, but for Christopher Nolan, Interstellar's heavy scenes can feel off. Dunkirk tackles a historical battle that hasn't received much attention outside of the UK. Through the use of his personal style, Nolan paints a picture of the event as we focus on different perspectives throughout the film. From land, sea, and air, audiences not familiar with the Dunkirk evacuation would surely have a better idea of what really went down through this movie. A big strength of the film is the rising tension leading to the climax and Nolan's master of juggling different perspectives throughout the running time. Whether it's Fionn Whitehead's Tommy, the side of the commanders, and even the experience of the brave civilians who rescued their own people, they all get proper screen time. Of course, Nolan plays with the narrative once more as the three main events happen in different intervals from 1 week to 1 hour. Ultimately, Dunkirk is Nolan's take on the war movie and he proves to be the master of his own style with it. After the divisive reception of The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar, the film proved that the director still has it. The Dark Knight is one of the most influential superhero films out there, and deservingly so. It remains an iconic blockbuster filled with thrilling moments and unforgettable characters. Of course, a big factor to this is the late Heath Ledger's Joker. Despite fan backlash upon his casting, he managed to make it work and gave one of the best renditions of the character. The film also tackled timely topics at the time and was a blockbuster that was as intelligent as it was entertaining. The movie was also not afraid to take risks from killing characters to the downer ending. Ultimately, the movie would take DC into new heights and would shape the genre for years. It's no wonder that every time a new DC is hyped, The Dark Knight is always compared as the gold standard. Christopher Nolan released Memento as an unknown indie director, and after the film, no one would ever forget his name. The movie remains unique for its take on a non-linear narrative and shows Nolan's talent for taking a concept that may seem too complicated for an inept filmmaker. But with him is well explained and clear. The non-linear structure did not feel like a gimmick but helped add to the main character's mental state and showed Nolan's deft hand at the technique. While the filmmaker would move on to bigger, more bombastic projects, Memento is a small scale yet effective film that told the world that Nolan was on the path to becoming one of the recognizable names in, yes, filmmaking. Inception is Nolan's perfect blend of intelligent filmmaking and high octane blockbuster. Its take on dreams was never seen before, with numerous striking sequences explaining the concept. A big strength of the film is the well executed ideas that never becomes too confusing for audiences. There are non-linear sequences like any Nolan film, a unique idea yet it all gels together to form one cohesive whole. There are numerous unforgettable scenes, from the hallway fight that was done practically to seeing the dream world for the first time. The movie proved that blockbusters could be original, smart, and exciting all at the same time. It is the director at his peak, showing his mastery of the craft and taking his audience along for the ride. Did you love our list or you have violent reactions? Please do send them at the comment section below. And don't forget to like, subscribe our video and channel. So yeah, that's it for today, and see you on the next episode.